Good evening, and welcome to the Night Sweats Podcast. I'm your host, Hayden. I know what you're thinking. What is this guy doing posting all these episodes, all these videos, all at once? Well, I have promises to keep and many miles before I sleep. It's a bad paraphrase. We have got a great show. We've got a great show for you tonight, and I know I say that pretty much every episode, but this time I really mean it. Well, I really meant it before, but I'm going to also really mean it tonight. My apologies to all of you. My throat feels like it lost a fist fight with God. It feels like I got hit by a truck in my throat. Most of the people I spent last week with in Florida have fallen ill with the same crap, although mine may end up being worse because, in all fairness, I did swallow a mouthful of seawater, which, as we all know, contains gnarly stuff. And to my to my knowledge, apparently everybody that swims in the ocean goes ahead and pees in it. So there's that too. So cool. So that being said, before I get into the swing of things, let me do a little housekeeping. That does not necessarily mean putting a cough drop in my mouth before I go to bed and hoping I don't choke on it in the night. But yeah, that's probably going to happen. This show is blowing up. This show is blowing up way more than I anticipated it would a year and a half ago when I started this. And yeah, sure, there was a lot of months there where I didn't do anything. And I just want to say that I really appreciate all of you for listening, reaching out. I'm not going to go over how many listeners and how many countries on how many continents, because you already know that hasn't changed. But there are a lot of countries out there that are stepping up, and I appreciate you. Continue to share this show. If you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, still share the show. Thank you for listening and tuning in and listening to my voice that is meant for print and my face that is meant for radio. Yeah. A few of you have reached out and said that the video quality on my laptop is not fantastic. That is, in certain lighting, yeah, that's absolutely correct. I'm thinking about buying one of those little ring lights to put in front because when I was in Florida, the first video, with proper lighting, I looked less bald. Also, more defined, but that was because I was working out then. I'm kidding. Sorry. My story tonight that I'm going to tell literally happened to me 45 minutes ago on my drive home, so I am a little amped up. I'm a little bit jittery, and I did have one adult beverage the minute I got home because it was a whole... Wow! Yeah. Oh, that's my message tone on my phone. Sorry. Wow. And that was very apropos for the moment. I did have an adult beverage to try and calm myself down a little bit, which is not something I recommend people do. That's a form of self-medicating, but hey, I had the little shooter right there. Might as well do it. So you know the format. I start out with my intro. I bring the people on, or we do stories, and then at the end I tell my story. So I'm going to stick with that, but I'm holding this inside me right now because, and I so want to tell you right now, but I won't. Thank you for those of you reaching out. Also, again with the voicemail, I did receive several voicemails today. Do me a favor, If it's going to be under 3 minutes from the time that it starts to the end, yes, please send me your voicemail. You can contact me at 860 go ghost. That's 860 GOGHOST 860-464-4678. If it's going to be longer than 3 minutes from intro to end, just record it and email it to me at thenightsweatspodcast@gmail.com. That works perfect. You can send me a message, voice message through your platform. Um, really, ultimately, um, if you can send me the voicemail, that's awesome. If you can't send me a short voicemail, just email me. I'll record it, slide it right into the show. You'll be on the show. You'll earn a place in Night Sweats podcast history. There's no awards, there's no money. You just get bragging rights. So, I do have a listener story today that they did just that. They recorded, they sent me the email. I'm going to slide that right into the show. It's going to be fantastic. I did do an interview a few days ago, as I mentioned. Very excited about this interview. These ladies are fantastic people, and they're doing amazing things at a place that is near to my heart, although it will get nearer to my heart when I make it there and get to stay and investigate. So, that being said, I'm going to get into the other stuff right now. We're going to start with two ladies that are near and dear to my heart. That's Fee and Chris Pope, who have recently bought the Mason House Inn in Bentonsport, Iowa. Let's get into that. I will see you guys shortly.
For 177 years, the Mason House Inn in Bentonsport, Iowa has been standing. It's been a lot of things. It's recently been a bed and breakfast, and most recently, it was purchased by Chris and Fee Pope. This place has a lot of history. They're going to talk about the hauntings. They're going to talk about how awesome it is. Come out and support them. Chris, Fee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Hayden. How you doing tonight?
Vacation is hard. I've been back a couple days. I've been doing nothing but interviews. My voice isn't what it was, and honestly, at this point, I've had an adult beverage, so that is awesome.
Just one?
Just one. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I do appreciate it. I've been wanting to make my way out to the Mason House Inn for a long time. I guess it just wasn't the right time. We needed new owners, but I'm looking forward to coming out and seeing you. Additionally, forgive me for this, but I hear you guys have a really nice caboose.
Actually, I get that quite often. No, we do. We have a really cool one.
Okay, so do you guys want to talk about your history with the place and the history of the place itself?
Yeah, sure. So Chris isn't feeling so good today. She's here, but her voice is a little ghostly, if you will. So it'll be me, Fee, talking probably most of the time. But yeah, we'd love to tell you about it. So my wife and I, Chris, have been going to the Mason House Inn as guests since 2020. So for about 3 years, we just randomly came across it, and every time we walked in the doors, it just felt like home, like we were going to Grandma's house.
Okay.
So since then, we would go there every anniversary of ours as guests, and we'd stay for the weekend. It's just always been someplace we just love. About the history as a whole, we can get into that. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we wrote out a little bit. The property actually stands along the Des Moines River in southeastern Iowa in a village called Bentonsport. So we're really close to Keosauqua. So a lot of places will say we're in Keosauqua, Iowa, but we're technically in the village of Bentonsport. The village's name is from the original form of Benton's Port, as it was a large port for riverboats back in the 1800s. The property was built in 1846 by the Navajo Mormons who settled in Van Buren County, Iowa. It was originally known as the Ashland House, which changed later to the Phoenix Hotel, and lastly, the Mason House when the Mason family took ownership in 1857.
Wow.
Lewis James Mason and his wife Nancy ran the inn later until 1867 when Lewis died in the inn from cholera. Going on to later, their second daughter Lewis and Nancy Mason Mary ran the inn with her husband Francis Otis Clark after Lewis had died. So getting into Mary Mason Clark, she actually ran the inn for quite a while after her parents both passed, and then her and her niece Fanny, who's also known as Mary Frances Mason Kurtz, ran the inn for quite a while together until Mary actually also died in the inn.
Wow, there's a lot of death going on.
Oh, yeah. So we know of about 20 confirmed people that have actually died in the inn. Mary Mason Clark, she died on the third floor. It's thought that she had a heart attack going up to the third floor, and then she crawled into her rocking chair and actually passed away, and she was found the next morning. So that's how she died, and she's actually still wandering the halls rocking in her rocking chair that is no longer on the third floor.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is the rocking chair still there?
I was just going to say we have a chair in one of the rooms that we believe was her chair, but someone had actually broken it, so you can't sit in it anymore. But there is a rocking chair in room 5 that actually rocks by itself when nobody's in there.
Gotcha. So when it comes to places like this, and again, I have not been, but I want to. There are certain places that I go to for special occasions, anniversaries, and stuff like that that have a special place in my heart. And I've got one coming up next week, but I've just used a bunch of vacation time, so I'm probably going to stick around. So what is it about the Mason House Inn that has kept you guys coming back?
Well, me personally, Fee, I am very sensitive to the spirit world and to things of the supernatural and paranormal entities. I'm really sensitive to that kind of stuff. So we feel like everything has really just kind of called to us the whole last 3 years. Like we feel like the spirits have set into place us finding it randomly, going there, drawing us in, and now the fact that we're buying it,
Loving it.
we love it so much. What else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that as soon as we walked in the door, we felt absolutely head over heels in love with the place. And then every time we came back, it confirmed it more and more. And, honestly, when it came to us owning the inn, it had been brought to our attention last year that they were selling and that the spirits were interested in us being the ones who own it. And everything there is ran by the spirits. We're just guests in their house. So they are the ones who are deciding. But so we just kind of literally blew it off for the better half of a year, and then we went back this year, and it was like as soon as we walked in, we're like, nope, this is us. We need to move forward with this. And so now here we are, and we're moving in next week,
November 1st on our anniversary.
Yeah, ours.
Oh, perfect. So your anniversary is November 1st. Happy anniversary.
Thank you so much. You too. Happy
Well,
anniversary.
My anniversary is actually October 31st because I'm weird.
Oh, I love that for you. Yes.
Wow. I have always been a Halloween guy, and I will not stop. One of my biggest gripes with the world today is that Halloween gets glossed over for Christmas too soon, and I don't think it's fair.
Oh, absolutely not fair at all. It should have its own season. Halloween. It shouldn't be fall. It should just be Halloween.
I agree. So
a lot of people tuning in may have no idea what I'm talking about when I say you have a nice caboose. Would you like to talk about the caboose?
Yes, I would love to. So our predecessors, Chuck and Joy Hansen, they're the ones that have owned the Mason House from 2001 till we take over on November 1st. And they have done so many great things to the place. We love them so much, just like their family. And they decided in
think it was 2008.
2008.
12 or something like that.
Somewhere in the mid 2000s, to bring this caboose in. It was an actual train caboose, and it has been renovated into kind of like what you would think like a little camper would look like. So it's got its own kitchenette, its own oven, stove, bathroom, shower, a fold out table that turns into a bed for kids, and then a little room in the back that's got a queen bed and a TV. So we kind of call it the honeymoon suite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys have just a ton of spirits there and spirit activity. And honestly, I've done so much research on the Mason House Inn and Bentonsport, but I just have not found a way to make it out there yet. I want to so bad. Real quick, can you guys talk about your personal experiences there?
Yeah, we totally have. So even from the first time that I went there first with my mom. And just walking in, you can just definitely feel it's kind of like a hug of energy. So for me, someone who's sensitive, I just definitely feel like, not in a bad way, but that I'm not alone and that I have people there that love and care about me, even when I was in the room by myself. So going along with things like that, we've been touched when we were there a couple weekends ago, helping out with the Scenic Drive festival that they have in Bentonsport. My wife was touched on her ear. We've heard voices. We've heard footsteps when we're the only ones on the floor. We've heard banging and tapping. One of the coolest things that we had happen when we were in room 7 is we had woken up and our covers were thrown off of us. Like, it was taken from my side of the bed, which is the right side of the bed, and it was like somebody had just completely ripped it off of me and all the way off of her, and it was hanging off the bed. Like, yeah, I'm a cover hog, but I don't ever take it off of me and throw it on. It was just crazy.
In my experience, the only thing worse than scary ghosts is cover hogs.
She is one. That is 100% sure.
I know what that's like. Absolutely, I do. So, congratulations on all this stuff, guys. I'm very excited. So, what can a person expect if they want to come out and rent a room or rent a couple of rooms?
So when we talked to Chuck and Joy Hansen about buying the inn from them, we had told them, we're going to come in, we're going to keep everything the absolute same. We want to run it just like you. And Chuck looked at us and said, that is so great that you want to keep the integrity intact, but you guys have to make it your own. You have to make it personal. So we really took that to heart. And we are going to run it with the same integrity. It's still going to be a bed and breakfast, but now we're opening it to 7 days a week. So it was from COVID time, it had just gone down to Friday, Saturday nights. And now we will be opening it on November 1st of this year, 7 days a week, 365. So with that, we'll be running it, me and my wife ourselves, and our kids will come help too. And we're just going to run it as a family business. There will still be a cookie jar in every room. We're going to be making homemade cookies, my wife's great grandma's chocolate chip recipe. So we'll be bringing that, and we're just really bringing some more life into the house. Pardon my pun there. We're just a younger generation. We're different. They're in their 70s and 60s almost, and what? And the prices will be a little different. We're kind of bringing that into the modern age too. But you can still expect the same loving grandma's house-esque feeling, and we can't wait to meet all of you guys.
I'm kicking myself. I need to come out and see you guys. So for all of you out there listening, and the few of you that are out there listening, actually, the podcast is blowing up, the YouTube is blowing up. But what I want to encourage all of you to do is come out, check out the Mason House Inn, stay for a night, do an investigation. I'll come out and do an investigation, get some rest, get a good night's sleep, and get some of Chris's great grandma's chocolate chip cookies.
I'm telling you, they're the best.
Well, I do have an insatiable sweet tooth, so I may try and sneak off and get 2 jars of chocolate chip cookies.
We'll make a whole pan just for you, babe.
That makes my heart smile, but I'm pretty sure my doctor will be very upset with us. Hey, real quick, can you guys do me a favor and give me and our listeners all the information on how we can get a hold of you for reservations and whatnot?
Yeah, we totally can. And then we also have a bunch more history too, if you're interested in hearing about that. But so you can reach us at www.themasonhouseinn.com. That's our website. And our email to message for a room, or you can call. Our email is stay, STAY, at THEMASONHOUSEINN.com. Stay at themasonhouseinn.com. You can also call me, Fee, at 402-580-8309. Before November 1st or after November 1st, you can call us at our landline. We still have to have one of those because it's pretty rural area, at 319-592-3133.
We're also on Facebook. Mason House Inn Bed and Breakfast on Facebook.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. You mentioned some other history stuff. Is there some other stuff that you would like to talk about?
Yes, actually. So, along with the Masons, being the main people that had owned the inn through the late 1800s and early 1900s, it also became a tuberculosis unit at one point, where we were told that some souls didn't make it. It was also a stop in the Underground Railroad. We actually have been told through the spirit box. Christopher Moon is a psychic who comes and has a spirit box, and we're able to talk to the spirits that are still in the inn. And they have told us that it was a stop in the Underground Railroad, and there was a tunnel underneath the house where the slaves would go to run away and be free. And it actually collapsed on 3 slaves, and 2 of them didn't make it. So their spirits were in the house at one point too. Along with, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, also along with that, it's right on the river. So it was a port for boats and railroads. And the first railroad, people that worked on the railroad would come and stay there. It's also been a Civil War hospital. We actually have 2 spirits that actually fought in the Civil War on opposite sides. One was a rebel and one was a Yankee, as people would call it back in the day. And we still have 2 spirits from those days that died in the inn as well.
I love the fact that you brought up Christopher Moon. So Christopher Moon is a guy that used to be on Coast to Coast all the time, and he ran Haunted Times magazine, and I was a subscriber, and I used to read those magazines all the time. So, truth be told, I'm just a little bit jealous.
Also, along with that, it's right on the river. So it was a port for boats and railroads. And the first railroad, people that worked on the railroad would come and stay there. It's also been a Civil War hospital. We actually have 2 spirits that actually fought in the Civil War on opposite sides. One was a rebel and one was a Yankee, as people would call it back in the day. And we still have 2 spirits from those days that died in the inn as well.
Wow, it is basically my goal in life right now to come out and visit you guys. So, real quick, on the last episode that I did, I was talking to Kane Stevens, host of the Kane Stevens Super Show, and we were theorizing. Well, we were talking about the theory that there is some sort of ghost hierarchy. When you have multiple spirits, is there somebody there with your knowledge of the spirits there? Is there somebody that's like the king or the president over the other spirits?
That's so great that you asked that, because yes, there's so through Christopher Moon's spirit box, we've actually talked to quote unquote the main spirits that are in the house, and I'd say that we have about 4. The one that comes to mind when you ask about the president would definitely be Harold. He was one of the Civil War soldiers that died. He died in his 30s at the Mason House, and he had been, was he the one that had gotten shot?
Oh,
I believe he had gotten shot, and then he had died waiting to be transported to the hospital in Keokuk, Iowa, and he died in the Mason House from his wounds in the Civil War. He is what we call a gatekeeper. So his main job, spirits do have jobs in the afterlife. His main job is to be the security guard between the portals that are open in the Mason House and the Mason House. The spirits call the Mason House a prototype. So there's no other place on earth like it. It's where the spirits basically run the place and keep all the bad things out. So the portals are guarded by Harold, and he makes sure that no bad entities come through. But any good entities, things that will bring positive energy, are more than welcome. So there's been over 50 or 60 spirits there at one time, just some passing through, some that come and stay. I guess it looks like a light, spirits are called. So spirits just come when they see this beacon, some come to pass through. Like, it's pretty awesome. Other than that, I would say Mary Mason Clark is kind of runs the show, and she kind of decides who stays and who goes.
So it's like you guys have multiple layers of ghost security.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to kind of think of Mary as she's the boss.
Yes.
She decides everything. So any big renovations that you want to do in the house, you need to have her approval. Otherwise, she's going to make it really hard for it to get done. And then she'll throw a fit, which is fine. But we're going to do everything we can to work with them. And this is their house. We're just there to visit. We're not, it's their place. And whatever they say goes. Like we have another spirit, a younger one. She was brought in when it was a boarding house / like hospital. She had fallen and hit her head, fell into a coma, and then died there at the end. And she's hilarious. She's spunky, but she is 14 and a half years old. You can't forget the half. And she likes shiny, and she's got sticky fingers. So if you got something shiny, like a bracelet or rings or anything like that, she likes sparkly, shiny stuff, she will probably take it. And if you ask her really nice, she'll bring it back to you.
But you usually have to have a trade for some, like coins, or she took the key to the back door because the cats were get in the house. Well, they're not supposed to get in the house, so she took the key to the back door and was letting the cats into the house, and getting the last owner's daughter in trouble for letting the cats in when it was actually Amanda doing it.
So she's a feisty one. She's a fun one. But I think the biggest thing though to get across is that nothing there at the Mason house is negative or dark in any way. I mean, Harold is a jokester. We got a couple other ones. We have Marky, who actually was a technician for Christopher Moon for a year, and then we have Curtis, which is another one from pre-Civil War time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my listeners know that I'm a watch guy, and I've got a bunch of big dumb shiny watches. Maybe I should leave those home. But honestly, if I bring them with me and you catch me in the middle of the night rooting around in the basement, you'll probably know what happened. I'm going to draw this to a close, but everybody go out, support Fee and Chris, come out, and hopefully you guys will have an amazing turnout. I'm going to draw this to a close, but is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
We're just super thankful that you had us on your show. It was so nice to meet you, Hayden, and we can't wait to meet all of our new friends and family that are going to come stay with us and become part of the Mason House family.
Well, I'm just hoping that with everybody coming out to visit you soon, I will still be able to secure a reservation.
Definitely.
All right. Hey, thank you guys for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me tonight. And everybody out there, do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Check out the Mason House Inn. Go out and support Fee and Chris, and just go out and have an amazing investigation and a great time.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Hayden.
you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you, and we can't wait to meet you in person and give you some of those chocolate chip cookies we're talking about.
I'm looking very forward to it. Please do me a favor. If there are any updates or anything, get a hold of me. I'd love to have you guys on the show again.
We'd love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Bye, Hayden.
Bye-bye.
Fee and Chris, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate your time, and also I look forward to coming to see you. Fair warning, I do require extra towels, although I do not have a lot up here. I have plenty everywhere else. I need to dry off properly. Next up, we have Jenny from Concord, California, telling her story. Let's get into that.
I call this story Amityville, but it takes place on June 2005 in Bay Point, California. The exact address would be 238 Azores Court, Bay Point, California. My family and I had been renting a home in Concord, California. The house was close to the kids' school, had an awesome backyard for the girls to play in. Everything was working out just fine. And about a year into our lease, the foundation of the home cracked, and then the plumbing went bad, prompting the owner of the house to sell. Fortunately, the property management company felt bad and offered for us to move to one of their other homes. So we were told to go check it out and see if it would work out for us. It wasn't far, it was just up the hill in the next city, about 3 miles from the kids' school. Upon arriving at the new property, I immediately fell into a lucid dream-like state. And for me, I know now in my life that this is something that happens when I'm opening to the spirit world. So we pull up to the house and I'm in this lucid state, and I remember looking at the tree on the front lawn. I don't know what it was about this tree, but I was mesmerized by it. So we got out of the car and walked up to the house, and I was still in this trance-like state. I proceeded to the front door, taking in all the surroundings and what seemed to feel like slow motion. The current tenants were still living in the home, so we rang the doorbell. A man answered. He greeted us, and we replied, "Hi, how is everything? How's the house?" The man looked at us. He seemed a little taken back by this simple question, and he quickly muttered, everything works. Come on in." We entered through the front door, and immediately I had noticed all the beds were in the living room. I just figured this must be because they were moving out. So I would soon find out it was not for that reason at all. July 1st, we had just moved in, and the home was a lot newer than the house we had moved out of. So it was really nice. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We figured our oldest daughter could have her own room while the younger ones could share the back bedroom. I remember showing them the rooms, and immediately my youngest daughter, Bella, who was 3, ran out of the back bedroom and said, "I don't like it, Mommy. Darth Vader is in there." I kind of laughed and thought she just wanted to sleep with me. Ultimately, we decided to make that room into a playroom. None of the girls would sleep in there. It was a hot summer afternoon, and I had just got the kids down for a nap, and their dad was at work. The house was quiet, and I was able to take some time to meditate. I did this often. I grew up in an environment that was very conducive to meditation and the paranormal. So this is something I needed to do to balance myself. So I sat down on the living room floor, and I clearly remember it was really warm in the house, and I did not turn on the air conditioning, and the back door was closed. Sitting there with my eyes closed, I suddenly felt a gust of cold air just blast through me. I mean, it just passed through my entire body. My eyes popped open and I looked around to see what could have caused it, and I just said, "Who are you? And what are you? And why are you here?" I knew at that moment something had entered our home. My intuition told me nothing good was going to come from this energy either. So I stood up and made the sign of the cross on my chest, went to check on my girls. They were all still right there where I left them asleep. Went about my day. Some time passes, I don't know exactly how long, but in day-to-day life, little things started showing up. Things would be misplaced. We had a lot of orbs in pictures, red orbs. I remember that in a lot of our photographs. I could remember coming home and the cupboards above the refrigerator would be left open, and I would scream and yell, "Hey, stop opening those," but the little kids couldn't get to them. I would have to stand on a chair just to get up there to close them. There was nothing in them. It got to the point where all of the kitchen cupboards would be open when I got back home. So that was just the beginning of it. Um, my kid's father and I started getting into very violent arguments. There was a lot of depression in that house. I started losing time. That was the scariest part. I would lose hours of time where I would wake up in different places of the house. That was really interesting, and I still don't know what that was exactly. Anyway, moving on to it was Halloween, and I was sitting on the couch with my kid's aunt to my right, and their dad was to my left on the other couch. Um, and I could clearly remember him shivering, and the house was warm. We had central air. Everything, was normal in the house. And he just was like, "God, I'm so cold." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with you? Are you getting sick?" And he goes, "I don't think so. I'm just cold." And I reached over to feel him, and he was ice cold. And I thought, God, that was weird. I just gave him some Tylenol and a blanket and said, "Yeah, here, whatever." We weren't really getting along at that point at all. And I went to bed. Well, 2 nights later, I wake up in the middle of the night and he's not in the bed. It's about 3 a.m. ish. And I go out into the living room and the light is on in there. The TV's off. Now, this is, 2006, and we have one of those big flat screens where it looks like it's really shiny and you can see a reflection in it. So I reach over to wake him up, and I just tap him a little bit, and his eyes, they just pop open. I mean, his eyes just pop open, and he just staring at me, and in this guttural voice, he's and screaming like a shrill. I can't even do it. And his fingers are curled up, and now he's over 6 feet tall, and I'm 5'1", and he's just like over me. Like I can't even. I'm terrified, and I look to my right where the TV is, and he's standing over me, but in our reflection of the TV, what I see is this winged creature, this demonic looking winged reptilian thing I fainted. All I know is I woke up 20 feet behind me by the front door with him over me with this scary grin and his hand out to help me, and looks at me and smirks and says, "Are you okay?" And I didn't even want him to touch me. I was just like, I, I was terrified. I've never been so scared that I fainted in my life, other than that day. Now, it as time went on, the activity did pick up in the house, and it ultimately ended up us breaking up, and I was jumping out of a moving car to get away from him. I left everything I owned in that home. I went on to do a little research on the house and found out that in the 14 years of age that house was, it had had 16 tenants. Nobody would ever state why. Um, there was a murder in the court behind my house, directly behind my house, and there was a lot of bodies thrown from an explosion at the Naval Weapons Station down the hill in the 1940s in Port Chicago, California. The explosion was so large, and you can look this up and fact check it for yourself, that body parts went flying up onto the local hills above, and that's where that house was. I contacted the East Bay Paranormal and told them the story, and they tried to check it out, and something happened, and the guy contacted me, and he was too scared and wouldn't have anything else to do with this house. Since then, I've found out the latest tenants have had no issues. Now here's the funny twist to this story and how the demonic travel. I'm at work, probably 2012. I'm having a conversation with a coworker, a young lady I kind of grew up with, and she's telling me a story about how her and her husband are getting a divorce, and how he started getting crazy and attacking her, and that it's been ever since they moved into this house. And all of a sudden I get a feeling, and I look at her, I said, "You don't happen to live in Azor Circle, do you?" And she turned white as a ghost. She literally lived down the street from the house that I lived in when that happened. 9 years prior. Now, her story was very similar to mine. And I believe whatever was in that house or came through was traveling through and passing through. And it found me. Um, but that was probably one of the scariest times in my life. And I've encountered a lot of paranormal. I hope that was interesting. That's one of the chapters in my book. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for sharing that. I do appreciate it. You're a friend of the show. Thank you for sending me your story. Uh, well, folks, this is the time in the show where I ask all of you to teach me how to open this box. I was shaking it earlier and it sounded like chains inside. If anybody has any pointers, if anybody's seen a box like this before, I sure would appreciate it if you give me a tip on how to open it. Sorry, not sorry. All kidding aside, on my way home from work tonight, and it's very dark outside, and I take a dark highway about 17 miles from work to home. It's my time to relax, even though I'm not feeling good. I was listening to a song that I love, because it's a ghost story. A lot of people didn't realize that when it came out. A lot of people don't realize it when they hear it on the radio, if they hear it on the radio today. The song is called "The Way" by Fastball. It's based on a true story. It's about a couple that and you'll have to forgive me. I did research on it a long time ago, and I have forgotten 99.9% of the whole story. But it was about a couple that left to go on a road trip, and at least one of them had dementia, and they disappeared for a period of time to go somewhere, and their car was found, and eventually their bodies were found. If you listen to the lyrics of the song, it's a song about ghosts. And for those of you that like the band Ghost or even Rocky Erickson, you'll know that if you have ghosts, you have everything. So I'm trying to decompress on the way home, or as I've said it before, ironically and funny, decompose on my way home. Um, I was thinking about the song. I was trying to think of nothing else, and I know that Halloween is next week, and it's a bittersweet time for me because it's my favorite holiday, but it's also marked some tragedies in my life, and I don't know. I'm endeavoring to get through it, and also the loss of my father. That anniversary, like I mentioned, is coming up, and so I may have talked about this on the show before, but after my father passed, I used to feel no matter where I was, I could be in a locked, sealed room with no ventilation. I would feel a cold breeze across my face, and I knew somehow that that was my dad. And then, if you go back and listen to the episodes, I did talk about how my father came to me in a dream and said, "You won't see me again. I have to go." And I haven't felt that cool breeze since then. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional. Um, Tonight on the way home, windows up, no air conditioning. It's a perfect October night here. It's just cool enough to wear that. It's just cool enough and just warm enough that you can drive with the windows rolled up and not turn on AC or heat or anything like that. But it's also, strangely enough, the time of year where I end up with 16 jackets in my car, because in the morning it's chilly and you wear one, and at the end of the day you take it off and leave it in your car and forget to bring it inside. So if anybody needs a jacket, just meet me in my car. Um, so sorry, I'm trying to make light of all this because it's I am feeling very emotional. I was driving and I was trying to zone out, and I felt a cold breeze across my cheek, and that is not easily debunked for me because I've only felt that in that particular, like it's, how do I describe it? It's, you know yourself, you know your body, you know what's up with you, and you've felt certain things, and you know what those things are, and I don't know if it was my dad or if it was my mom, but I felt it, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying to. If there are tears of joy, I'm trying to make that happen. I'm just a little bit emotional right now and a little shaken. So if you go back, listen to the episodes, I do believe that that I talk about this, but tonight, I don't know how to explain it. My mother or my father, possibly my father, was there with me, and I'm comforted. I'm comforted in knowing that I don't have to go through this. I don't have to go through this stress and uncertainty about the next week by myself. It's nice to know that. I mean, I have people around me that have my back. Sure. When I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling upset, when I'm sad, when I'm stressed, I have people in my life that help me through that. I have you guys. I can talk to you guys, and sometimes you guys respond. Sometimes you don't. But getting things off my chest is awesome. But it's nice to know that there are people on the other side that have my back too. So, anyway, that's my story. And again, sorry, I'm a little shaken and a little scatterbrained, but this just happened. If you would like to get something off your chest, you can send me your stories. You can call the voicemail 860 go ghost GOGHOST 860-464-4678. You can record your story and send it to me in an email at thenightsweatspodcast@gmail.com. You can send me a voice message from whatever platform you're listening to. Even on the YouTube channel, you can comment on the video. You can send me a message that way. I will get it. I will figure something out. We will figure something out. I know that there are a lot of strange things going on in the world these days. A lot of them scary. And if you need to just talk about that, I mean, this podcast isn't just the paranormal or whatever. It's strange and unusual. Right now, the entire world is strange and unusual. Get a hold of me. And share the show. Share your stories with me. Send me your stories so I can share them, just like I shared